like, don't worry, this will be recorded. It will be shared with all of the parent councils, and you can watch it however they publish it, whether it's on their website or in their newsletter or however they choose. There are a few other housekeeping things. The presentation is an hour, and then there will be a half hour for Q&A. You can put things in the chat. We welcome chatter in the chat. If you want to amplify things that have been said, or give your 2 cents, you can do that in the chat. We'll be watching it. If you have questions, you can ask them there. If you have questions that you want to ask verbally, you can raise your little digital hand with the reactions. I'm not sure if everybody knows Zoom by now, but you go to the reactions and raise your hand, we'll see that. And if it's a good time for Luana to answer a question, then she will call on you. We welcome you all today, and we're so very glad that you have come to expand our horizons a little bit and learn about some Indigenous cultural teachings. Luana Shirt is from the Plains Cree First Nation in Saddle Lake, Alberta, but she was raised in this neighborhood in the Bain Co-op, I believe. So she knows this neighborhood really, really well. Luana is a mother of 2 young OG Cree adults and currently lives in Simcoe County. Luana is an Indigenous cultural knowledge keeper that is passionate about Indigenous women's health, Indigenous language revitalization, Indigenous land-based teachings, and Indigenous arts that include songs and games. And we are so grateful that she is here with us today, and we can't wait to hear what she has to teach us. So thank you all for coming, and welcome, Luana.
Oh, ani bonjour, tanse, sego, kwekwe. Hello, good evening. My name is Luana, and my spirit name is Wase Joming Gwenikwe, Bijou Ndodem. My spirit name means light smiling woman, and I'm of the Lynx clan. And I am, like Valerie said, I'm a mother of 2 young Indigenous youth. I grew up in on the Danforth, which is kind of interesting. When they asked me to do this presentation, it felt like I was coming home. I haven't been in. I moved away almost 10 years ago. I think it is now. Time is flying, and so on that note, I want to acknowledge that this virtual gathering, this virtual circle, is coming together, acknowledging those ancestors and the spiritual ground of the traditional grounds of the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and the Anishinaabeg people. And there's a covenant of the dish with one spoon that brought all those nations together throughout the I would say thousands of years. I am in the town or the city of Aurelia, and not far from here is what they call the Weirs. And the Weirs is a national historical site that is older than the pyramids. And it's actually under an underpass, which is, but this is where the people of those nations would come together, and they would share, they would cultivate the land, the waters, the fish, the wild rice, everything. And they also say that this land also is part of one of the other reasons why they call it the dish with one spoon is because this area is so unique in vegetation, and in the wintertime, all the animals would come, and they would come and feed off of this area that wouldn't fully freeze over. So this is, again, in Dwe Maganaduk, that's all our relations. We're looking at all our relations, and that's what I'm going to be sharing tonight with you. It's my honor to do this kind of work, this work that it's sharing in a good way about um, the first peoples of this land. So my presentation will be on the 13 moons, the cycles of the 13 moons, and understanding that who we are as the people that walk on this in this territory. I could talk about all the other ones, but I kind of try and narrow it down to this area. It's a lot. So I'm going to start my PowerPoint. So Indigenous relationships to the land. You can all see this? The first slide, self-determination through Native Way education. My father is Vern Harper, and he and my mother, Pauline Shirt, they were in the early 70s. My parents, they were part of a movement of Native people that they were following this beautiful movement of reclaiming. And it's spoken about, you might have heard the term seven fires, or the eighth fire, seven fires. They were the youth of the seventh fire. They were part of that movement where they put down drugs and alcohol, and they were looking around, looking for those teachers, looking for those elders. There were they say that those ones were asleep, and so they had to go. They traveled across Turtle Island to pick up their bundle. We call it a bundle. It's our traditional teachings, and so that seventh fire teaching is that one where those youth, they were youth, they were in their 20s and 30s, and they were picking up those tattered pieces. That's what they say. And so in that movement, it was a very strong movement where I grew up learning with them in a lot of ways, learning the language and learning our teachings. And so my parents, they started a school, and it's called Wandering Spirit. Originally it was Wandering Spirit Survival School, and then now it's Wandering Spirit, and it goes up to grade 12, and it's just on the Danforth, off the Danforth, and so it's still going. It's you know, it's growing too, which is amazing to see that movement happening. And my father passed away in 2018, and my mother's still going strong. They raised 5 kids, children here on the Bain, and that's where the school started, actually, in the Bain Co-op. They said, we're just going to take you out of the school. And this is how, it started in our living room, and it went into now the board has, it's a cultural way school. And it's the curriculum is built around this is what I'll be sharing with you tonight, the curriculum of that school. And so my children, again, my daughter and my son, they're Ojibwe Crees, and my daughter, her name is Wabin Weiwei, that is in the east, and my son is Bemashe Ganu. He is Soaring Golden Eagle, and they're both Bear Clan through their father. So I'm Lynx and they're Bear, and so in the Ojibwe teachings, the children follow their father's clan. And the reason why is because there is that, as a woman, we are the ones that give birth. We are the life givers. We have that vessel that brings life onto this earth. And so that connection of between the mother and their children are very, very strong. They say there's a spiritual cord that runs deep. And so one of the things that a father, to help him with that cord with his child, is that he will give that child his clan. So they have that. Okay? And my children are like two bears. You know, when they were younger, they literally were rolling around the living room as two bears, and and they're beautiful young people who know who they are. They have their you know again, they know their clan, their spirit names. They belong to the same lodge as I belong to. And that lodge I belong to it's called the Three Fires Society. And in that society, I'm third degree. It's so it's we go by different degrees of learning, and that's all a personal choice how far you want to go with those teachings. And so I have grown up with these teachings of living this way of life, living a clean way of life, and uh, knowing who I am as Nihil Squel Nishnabekwe. I am so that's really important because it's something that uh, people can you can read a lot of stuff online, and see all this and that, but when it comes to actually living that, that's why it's really important when we when we meet somebody, we go, oh, who's your family, where are you from, you know um, so we know where that those teachings come from, and we can say yes. So Luana shared these teachings, and this is from this lodge that she's sharing these teachings from. So that's important, knowing where they come from, because there's many nations with many different teachings, and then with teachings within a nation. So um, that's why it's a big task to talk about these teachings. Um, of, I mean, the 13 moons, and in so there's so many cultures and peoples that have that relationship with the moon. This is just a calendar of the Mayan. This is one of their calendars. They have many different ones in different cycles that they go through. But this is the 13 moon calendar they have, and then this is the Celtic one that relates the moon cycles to their energy of the different seasons. And so we're in that same. We have that same relationship as Indigenous people. There are other nations, people also, like the Ethiopian calendar. They calculated it. They say they live in the past. There's something about their calendar that they have uh, their calendar is set in the way they look at it. We live in the past. It's really interesting. So I'm learning more and more about other people's calendars because it's related. You know, we look at it, it's all it's in the same vein as you know uh, Europeans would call us pagans, and that word pagan. One of my elders, he said, "Well, I'm a born again pagan." It's something that we this is earth cultures, earth people, people of the earth. So many cultures they would garden. This is how they gardened, and they still do this. Lunar gardening is really important, and I'll explain why in the next slide, I think. Yeah. So um, this is our story as Indigenous people. There are many creation stories all over the world. They have beautiful tellings of how we came as human beings to the earth. And so this creation story is one that talks about the beginning before the beginning. when there was nothing out there, there was no sound, no light, nothing. And the creator, through the time, and they don't know how long it was, like millions of years, billions of years, it moved, the cycle moved. Uh, the the creator needed, through sound, light, vibration, all that was happening. And the creator, we called the creator or creators, they're, they're, um, they're the great mystery. They're the ones that, many, everyone talks about, every culture talks about this, this supreme uh, being. And so the creators had, they needed a place that would, hold life. They needed to find a place in our galaxy. They needed that, to find a place. And in our story, they talk about the creator, walking through our universe, our system, looking for that place that, life would be created. And they stopped at many, they say 9 different, planets. They stopped, and at these planets, and each planet, um, had, there was, some of them were made out of, gas, or some of them were made out of metals. Some of them were very uninhabitable. So, but so that, those planets, even though they couldn't hold life, they still had something. And so they say that the creators, were given a piece of, something from those planets, to, we call them a bundle. That the creators carried a bundle, and that bundle was getting, heavier and heavier, and it was, made. All these beautiful things were, given to them, gifts from these planets. And in our way, also, when you come to visit somebody, in our, in Indigenous, houses, the first thing that we do is we feed you. We feed you, and, we always give of the best, best of, anything that, you know uh, in a Cree way. If somebody said, "Oh, I really like your earrings," it would be, in our way, I would just give them to you. If you really loved them, I would give them to you. And that's a big thing in Cree country. Uh, People joke about that. They go, "Oh, I really like your car." And so, things like that. But that is what, these planets gave of themselves to that bundle that the creators carried. And so the creators, they traveled, and they finally found a place, and that place was, the Earth. And because the Earth was able to hold the breath to herself, she was able to hold that. They knew that that was the place that life could be, created. And so those, the creators placed that bundle up on top of the Earth, and that they say that there was water there. There's a water. It it was a liquid planet, and too much water on the planet, so they had to, they removed part of that up on the top of the planet. And in our teachings, they call it the third level, and there's water up there. And so they say that if you can see the water when you look up in the sky, that there's water up there. And, there is a water, um, the water is, with that bundle, it came alive, and it became, everything started moving. And the creator placed two the moon and the sun with the earth. And those two work in unison. They work together to um, keep life moving on earth. And so we look at the sun as Mishomis Jesus. That's our grandfather. He's our grandfather. He's our first grandfather. And he is the one that holds that original fire. And in our way, the men are that's their teacher. Their original teacher is that Mishomis, the sun that we see every day. And so the sun, he gives us so much without, you know, every life form on earth needs the sun to survive. And so it is also with the moon. There's the moon is our grandmother. She's called Niba Jesus Nukumis. And Niba Jesus Nukumis means the night sun. And so she has a responsibility. She has back before when she was young, they say that she was a lot bigger and a lot stronger. She didn't have to use the sun's rays to light up. She already had her own light in her. And she's made of water. There's water in her. And that's her connection to us. So we have the fire and the water, and those two work together to help move life on earth. And so there's a relationship there also between, so the earth and the moon are mother and daughter. And you see how the moon travels and rotates. She rotates around the earth. She moves around her, and it's like it's that relationship between a mother and daughter is very close. I have that with my daughter. We're very close. But you know, mother always, you know, she's like that one who always makes sure everything is, you know, okay, how are you doing? You know, and teaching her and showing her. And so there's that you know, beautiful relationship between them. And so that's what the earth and the moon do. Like the moon, she travels around the earth. And the interesting thing about Mother Earth, that's what we call her. We call her Mother Earth. And how much water she has on her and in her is the same amount that we have as human beings, the same percentage of water. So it's, you know, that is our mother. You know, there's no disconnection there. So you know, I call her Shkata Makwe, or Nagashi Aki, Mother Earth. And she's that medicine. She has that medicine for us, uh, for all of life. And so she, that water is what we call it's her blood. It's her, you know, the blood of Mother Earth. And we have the same, you know, there's the veins and the rivers and everything are in our bodies. And then you look at all the plants and the animals. They all have some sort of water in them. And this image here I have of it looks like a snowflake. This is it's a water crystal, and we talk about water as women. That's our responsibility, to uphold the water, take care of the water, and the men, they take care of that fire. So there's always that balance, just like the sun and the moon. There's balance there. Oh, the other part of that is if the sun was a little further out of our atmosphere, our galaxy, then the water on Earth would evaporate. If the sun was a little closer, no, the sun, it's the other way around. if the sun was farther away from us, then the water would freeze on Earth. If the sun was closer, then the water would evaporate. So there's an actual real amazing balance between the two of them. And that's just beautiful when I see that, eh? I see that intricate balance. And so that water crystal there is, they say that that's us. That's how we have to see ourselves, as beautiful creations unfolding all the time. And when we pray to the water, as a woman, I will pray to the water. I will sing to the water. I give thanks to the water. Um, that water changes into that kind of crystal, eh? It's open, so in our way, we are very we talk good about ourselves. We talk because we are made of water, and so all that water, um, she's flowing in us, and so we have that responsibility to that water, to be good to it, and say beautiful things and sing to it. So that's what my grandmothers would say: sing to your water, and um, it's going to treat you good. It's going to be healthy. So again, these are Indigenous maps, and our stories. Like I said, I talked about that creation story, about how we have that connection to everything around us. When I said the creators traveled to these different planets, they traveled to 9 different planets. And those 9 different planets represented to us the 9 cycles of a woman being pregnant and, giving birth. And, you know, Indigenous culture and in Indigenous ways, we already knew that there was 9 planets, or there were planets. We already knew what type of planets there were there. We didn't need telescopes. This is something that our ancient knowledge, knew certain ways what to do through looking at the stars. The stars told us a lot, and we are finding out more and more from the different nations. So um, these are the Cree, Ojibwe, and the Lakota star maps, and we're starting to find out more and more about our stories and how we saw and how we see what what those animals are telling us. When should we do things? What is there's a man figure in there, and he's talking to us. He's telling us, pointing to certain areas that okay, you have to get ready for this. This is a hunting season. You, you need to. It's a storytelling time. These are things that these star maps are our story. And so this is the I'm going to talk about the 13 moons in a half hour. And so the 13 moons, you can see them they're reflected in everything that is in creation. And when you look at the turtle's back, you can see the 13 plates, and those are the different moon cycles that we're in. And then the 28 little circles around that shell, that's an actual cycle, the moon cycle. And so when I talked about the relationship between the moon and the sun, this is how we see life. This is our the movement of creation. And so you've all seen the Four Directions medicine wheel. This is something that is prevalent in everything now. You go down to City Hall and you can see that Four Directions. That Four Directions says a lot about the many gifts of the those 4 directions. There's this picture on the bottom there. There's 4 medicines in there, and each of them has a story. Each of those medicines, one is Sama, that's tobacco. Then the other one is sweetgrass, and that's in the south. And then the west is the sage, and then the top is cedar. And cedar grows all around here in Ontario. This is a good one. They're all 4 of them are 4 sacred medicines, and we, as Indigenous people in this territory, we know these medicines. These are the ones that we work with, and we work to talk to the Creator, give thanks to the Creator, give give tobacco to a traditional elder. We use those other ones to smudge with, whether we're feeling sad. Maybe we want to uplift the environment. Sage will help you with that. Sage actually, when you burn sage, it creates negative ions. So those negative ions turn the whole place into a positive place. And so that's a science there, of those. But we already knew this as Indigenous people. So I have a little bit of sage here, and I smudge myself daily with this, especially during this time, this pandemic time. We use our medicines, and then there's that cedar. That cedar, our traditional elders are telling us, drink some of that cedar tea to help you. It not only helps you with that vitamin C, but it also centers you. It takes away a lot of that stuff that we can carry. That's why we smudge. We're brushing off that stuff away from us, eh? So really important when you see Native people smudging, we are brushing all that stuff off of us, that negative or whatever it is that maybe you just you need to be picked up a little, eh? So I could talk all day about these 4 directions, but I don't have the time. But because each of them have spirit animals, energy, there's doorways there. There's a story about how those 4 directions came to us, and so when you look at them, when an elder is going to each of those directions, and then going down to the earth and then up to the sky, those are the sacred directions, eh? Those are the ones that we honor. They're cardinal directions of our movement of those 13 moons. So they say the story around the 13 moons is that the grandmother moon, she needed help. She needed help, and she asked each of the spirits of those moons to come together, and they come together in the beginning of the year to help us, to take care of, to help us to arrange what we need to do in our life for the next year. And so these are the 13 moons of the creation. This is the bare moon is usually in February, and the bare moon is a time that when we start looking at this is the winter moon. And so what that bear does, the bears are still sleeping in the February moon, but they start to wake up and they turn over, and there's this they're getting ready for that springtime. They're getting ready to start their new cycle. And the bear they have a beautiful medicine that they bring down to us. So when I showed you the 7 those that 4 directions, there's a bear that sits up on that white part of the north. It's the white bear, and that bear comes down and brings us her medicine, and she's the healer. She's the healer of the people. And so we ask her at that time to take care of us, we petition her to help us. And they say that there's nothing that the bear cannot heal. And so she's beautiful. She's a beautiful mother too, strong mother. and a teacher, because she knows about the plants, eh? And if you watch a bear throughout the seasons, not too close though, um, but you can see them. You can see what they're looking at, because they're plant people. They know those plants. So then the sugar moon is in March, and the sugar moon is a time when we go and get that medicine from the tree, the maple tree, and then all the other we're already now starting to um, during that March moon, we are starting to get ready for the new season of the spring, and that sugar of that the maple sap will help clean our bloods. Um, Through the winter, our blood is thick, so we ask that we use the maple water, the maple sap. Again, there's water, that water teaching, and we ask it to do its work for us. So it's a lot of work. If anyone has ever been to the sugar bush, but your family's coming together now. Winter's ending, and we're getting together, working on preparing this medicine for the people, and then connecting to our families. So this is a time where the grandmothers and the grandfathers, there's again responsibilities that they're doing. They're working together, and each has a role in that day. So then now we are in the we're in the sucker moon. The sucker is a fish, and this is a time when the sucker, they say that the suckers come out when we look at the lakes and the rivers. They're frozen. Well, this was interesting time. A lot of the lakes and the rivers were already running in April and March. But during this time, if they say it's the fish that clean the waters, again, it's water. And so they're taking care of us. They're cleaning the waters for all of creation. They're taking care of everybody. We need the fish. And so, but on a spiritual level, those fish bring down the medicine for us to help us. So we're getting ready again. This is life is picking up. We're starting to get our planting together. And I just want to note that these are all different nations here, and this is what they call these each of these moons. And again, I said everyone had a way of looking at the moons, the cycles, and they named them for where they were from. So you have the Inuits, the snow melt moon. They're actually up north. Their snow is actually starting to melt. Ours already did at this time. So this is it's a beautiful story about the waters here, and we create a bundle at this time to help strengthen our family ties, and we release that during this time, and it's a beautiful story, beautiful bundle, and we just did that a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, or last week. So the next one is May, and this is the one that's coming up, the flower moon. And the flower moon is it's the time when we have our gardens. Our gardens are getting ready, and again, there's a responsibility between the men and the women. When we lay out our gardens, we are talking to our relatives. We're getting our plants ready. We have our seeds, and we're talking to those seeds. We actually sing to those seeds, and we pray to them, and we thank them. We go, when we plant them, we're like, thank you for taking care of my family. Thank you for your sustenance, for taking care of our community. And so this is it's a beautiful moon, because they say that when you see those little tiny buds, and they're happening right now, if you look outside, you can see those flowers growing. And in our creation story, there's a part in there where the creator's thoughts were those little plants growing, and this is a reflection of that teaching. When you see those little plants outside, it's the creator, how beautiful life is, eh? And how um, so the creator was so happy to see those thought seeds grow, and we're able to see them in our backyards, in our gardens. And so I always think that, it's such a beautiful time when they're blossoming. This is the June moon. It's the strawberry moon, and the strawberry is the one thing I wanted to say was again that four directions. There was helpers. Each of them have helpers, and the spirit animals. But also, there's one that sits in that. This one here in the springtime. Her name is Zequan. Zequan is the spirit of spring, and so she, during that springtime, she helps everything grow. Everything is, and she makes sure everything is in the cycle. And so the reason why we call this a strawberry moon is because it's that time of that spring equinox when it's changing. We're changing into that summer moon, and um, the strawberry is the last plant that Ziguan touches and makes it helps it grow. So that's why the strawberry is the first berry of all the berries that come through the season, the summer season. So she has lots of responsibility. The strawberry is we call it odemin. It's a heart berry. It looks like a heart. It gives us there's so many things that the heart berry does for us. And she's happy when you feel sad or you want to feel good about yourself or somebody. You want to give them a beautiful gift. You give them those heart berries, and that helps make them happy. Then we have this thing is the raspberry. The raspberry is the time when summer is now officially here, and our gardens are growing, and we come together as families. We're starting to harvest now. We're starting to make sure we're picking the berries, and so we have a succession of berries. We have the strawberry, the raspberry, the blueberry, the cranberry. There's an order that they come out, and again, this one here helps women. It's a woman's medicine that we use, and we we make all kinds of. There's so many things you can do with this one too, from harvesting, but making jams, dyes, teas. The list goes on. And then the berry moon is August, and it's also the rice moon. When I said the where I live here in Aurelia by the weirs, there's traditionally back thousands of years ago there was rice beds there. Well, actually not too long ago either, but they took them out with building up and changing of landscape. And so traditionally there was rice beds here, and this is the wild rice that grows on the water, and it's a medicine plant for us. And so as we in this time we are harvesting now, we're getting ready for the big harvest that's coming up, but we're getting we're busy. It's a busy time. It's a fun time. We have four medicine foods. So I talked about the strawberry. The wild rice is one. The berries, the wild rice, and then the next one is the corn. The corn is a sacred medicine plant of our people, and it is, this is the harvest. And so during this one, this is around September, we are starting to now go into fall. And we are starting to, the hunting season happens. And again, we thank those medicines of those animals that give themselves to us. So the strawberry, the wild rice, the corn, and then the sacred medicine of the animals. Those are the four sacred foods that we use. And uh, so this is, all nations would be hunting right now around this time, and cultivating their corn, and getting ready. There's so much going on at this time. Again, it's a busy time. I'm just going to go through. Yeah. So the the next one is the falling leaves. This is when I was born. No, not. This is October. I was born in November, and so October around there, because it changes. The 13 moons change every couple of years. They will. We won't have a 13 moons every year, and that has to do with the calendar system that we have. Um, the ones that we have on our walls, uh, those calendar systems, they don't follow that 13 moon cycle. It's a 12-month cycle, and it kind of squashes everything together. So that's why we have a blue moon. That's where that blue moon comes from. And so we just had a 13 moon cycle this past 2020. There was an actual 13 moons. And so, a very special year for us. And she's telling us a lot about what we should be doing, our grandmother moon. So, but during the falling leaves moon, it's a beautiful story about that change. We're always, because the water and our grandmother, she has all these helpers that help her move the cycles, move, and that wind is part of that, and the birds are part of that, and you know, change happens, and so this is a time when those leaves, they call him the spirit painter. Spirit painter overnight, he's busy painting the leaves, and then in the morning, the leaves are changing, and they're beautiful. And um, they say that our mother, the earth, she that those beautiful leaves that we see in the fall time, it's like a shawl that she wears, and so she's doing her last dance. So she's dance of the season and giving thanks for everything that all our relations have given us. So we do the same thing. We have many ceremonies during this time, and we're getting ready for the memorials that are for our ones who have passed on. This is the time that we're getting that prepared for them. And so November is the freezing moon, and November is uh, a, we especially during the COVID times, people have been getting. I noticed that just before winter, people are like, "I need to get this ready. I need this ready," because it was very uncertain, and so that's how we think as Indigenous people. We're like, "What do I need to do next? What do I need to get ready for?" And it's also a sign of when I'm a helper to my elders and my teachers. So I'm always looking at what can I get ready for them? How can I prepare for what do they need? So we do this at this time. We're spiritually um, uh, and physically really getting ourselves prepared for the next season of winter. And so we all that harvesting that we did, we're giving it away. We have our giveaways at this time. We're giving away, making sure our elders are taken care of, those ones that are not feeling good. And so that this is that's our way of thinking of, making this and making sure we're taken care of as a people. And so the little spirit moon is the one in December around there. And this one here is, we're in that winter cycle now. And that winter cycle is a time where it says little spirit, but really it's just, it's that little winter. The winter is called baboon in our language. And during this December, he's still small. He's still young, a young spirit. And as he progresses through the winter, he becomes older and a little more crankier. And so this is a new spirit moon. It's a new winter moon, I should say. And so we are starting to tell our stories. We tell our stories, and we come together as family. And this is also the Woodlands Cree call it the Christmas moon. And so it's quiet, and after all the busy time of the spring and the summer and the fall, we can actually now come together as family and start telling our stories. Very important. Our traditional stories help keep those teachings alive. And we have clans, like I talked about. My clan is Lynx. Our clans would tell their stories during this time, so we keep that energy and that medicine alive. And so the third one is around January. Again, we are we could be fasting, we could be meditating, we could it's a very powerful time, because they say the stars are our ancestors, and they're close, very close to us at this time. And it's a magical time. It's a magical time of connecting to our dreams. Our dreams are very they're strong at this time. And so this is the last moon, and this is the one that the Great Spirit Moon, the 13th moon in creation. And this one happens, I think it's every couple of years when we look at it on this calendar. And she's beautiful. She's a very special moon that comes with gifts for us, to look at. And it just happened. She just came this past year. She came to visit us, and so we give thanks, and we honor her with ceremony. And we don't know exactly what she's giving us yet, because we that's part of our connection to our spirit and our teachers, to show us what that is. And then, so the last part of this is the Milky Way. The Milky Way has many, many stories about our teachings. And one of them, when you look at the Milky Way, you look at all those, how it clusters in those stars. They say that the creator, when I talked about the creation story in the beginning, the first thoughts of the creator, they say, are those Milky Way stars. They're the oldest thoughts in creation. And it's so beautiful. They say that the creator's first thoughts were of us, and those first thoughts were such beautiful thoughts. And I always think about that, how beautiful that is. We were already thought of even billions of years ago. The creator knew of us, So I just want to say that much on that, and I did it within an hour.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is anybody, I guess it's time to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions for Luana about what we've learned today, welcome you can put your hand up, or you can write it in the chat, or just speak if it's open. Yes, it's all so beautiful, and it all just ties together. And I personally loved like reading through the different names from the different nations, and being able to see like just geographically where they are, and why different moons would be called different things, because different things would be happening in their worlds at that time, right? Yeah,
Definitely. Stories, different stories, and territorial stories, definitely. Oh, thank you. I'm just reading the comments.
yeah.
This is Finn, and he wants to show you something.
This is one of my books called The Good Path, and it's about the Indigenous people.
That's a beautiful, I love that title.
Good path.
The Good Path.
That's for kids, in case anybody is interested to see it. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's
You should put that in the chat.
Will do. A lot of what you said matches the storyline. It's really interesting.
Beautiful. That's great. I hope you enjoyed it.
W Small asks how you feel about landing on the moon.
Oh, good question. Yes. So again, there was also the exploration of Mars, and that's another one of those grandmothers that gave to us. And so personally, when they landed on the moon, or that was fine, but then they did something else just recently. What was it? They did they put a bomb or something on the moon. They wanted to see if there was water on the moon. We already knew that there was water. We didn't have to do that. So, but we she's our grandmother. We have to take care of her, and she everything about every plant, every like even the tiniest little plant has a little bit of water in there, and she helps control and move that, so she has an important role to us, for us all.
I hope you're able to read through these comments.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful gratitude in there.
Yeah, and a parallel, definitely a parallel with many different cultures, and that's the exciting part of that, we all are connected. When I say Ndwe Maganaduk, that's everyone. That's all my relations, and so that's everyone. And so we're all related, and that's that circle here, right? That we're all in this circle. There's many teachings, and maybe you should get somebody to talk about that someday too. That this one here, yeah. Oh, the pines. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's great. Yeah, I do miss the co-op. I do. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just reading up. Beautiful.
Another of the teachings that I always found particularly powerful and definitely like changed my way of thinking is that we're all very sure of our rights, and we have our right to do this and our right to do that, but Indigenous teachings, it's more about obligation and what our obligations are towards the planet and to each other and to the future and to the past, and how we honor all of that together. How is that taught within your culture? Like, how is obligation like transferred as like a teaching to your children?
So as a woman, as a mother, I showed a picture of my mother, and then there's a picture of my daughter. Um, in that we have in the lodge I belong to, it's called a water line, a water line. So my daughter is the one that I will be transferring my knowledge to her so she can take that into the future. And I'm my mother's helper, and so she carries that bundle from the past. And and I'm the one that works. I'm the one who is very busy, but that's the role. And so that's that knowledge transfer. And it's you can think of it as water, that water that just keeps, moving. It's always moving ahead. Well, thank you all for all the beautiful thoughts here. And it's a lot. That's a lot. The 13 moons. It's a, you know, and we're in that time right now of we're going into that flower moon, and so we're in that in between. And there's so much more about the moon and the cycles, and then the equinox and the how the planets relate, and how they share their stories with us. And again, an hour and a half is not a lot, but yeah, so we could talk all day. So miigwech for that. Uh, if anyone else has any more, you can just speak up if you need to.
I'm wondering if you have any family who is two-spirit, and how that goes along in your community, especially with the balance of man and woman. Being a trans person myself, it's definitely an area of interest.
Yes, yes. So we have the two-spirited are very special in our culture, in our lodge, especially in our lodge. They have that. Uh, they can go. They can wherever they choose to go. That's the that's why I was very careful about that energy. In a lot of our old written word books, they were talked about the creator as a man, and but there's that balance between the energies. And so that's what we talk about, is that energy. So you could, you know we have many uncles that are aunties that have that role, that take on that role. And same likewise, so it's just, we have a very they have a an important part of our lodge. And yeah, I have some nephews that are two spirited, and they're finding their way. They also know, they're not, there's no fear there. The family, because we know our teachings and our understanding, it's, we're very supportive of
That's
their
just
path.
beyond beautiful to hear. Wow. I'm so pleased to hear that, the origins of where we live were originally respectful.
Yeah. Miigwech. Miigwech, everyone. And so I think Valerie.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants us, if you have any questions afterwards, like, we can always pass them on to Luana, and I'm sure she would answer. If you have anything that you want to ask privately, that would be fine. But yeah, thank you so much, Luana. This was really beautiful. I mean, I had a grumpy 6-year-old who interrupted me a few times. I was just like, shh, I'm listening. But yes, it was so very beautiful, and thank you so much for taking this time to share with all of us. I think we've all learned quite a great deal tonight about just the outlook on how to see our world around us and how precious and sacred water is, and yeah, the balance between all things. So thank you. Miigwech.
Miigwech. And have a good spring. Happy planting. Happy planting. And hopefully it doesn't snow.
I planted already, so I'm really hoping there's no. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Komapi. Tuamin.
Megan, you want to stop recording?
Miigwech.
Miigwech.
Uh-uh.
Miigwech.